I kicked out my pregnant sister after she tried to replace my dead wife. My name is Jason. I am 35 years old, and until about a year ago I had what I considered a perfect life. A beautiful wife named Emily, a job I loved, and a quiet little home tucked away in a peaceful neighborhood. Then everything collapsed in a single moment. Emily died in a car crash caused by a drunk driver on her way home from work. I never got to say goodbye. One second she was alive, texting me that she'd pick up takeout. The next, I was identifying her body. The months that followed were a fog. I didn't eat much, I didn't talk much. I just worked, slept, and stared at photos of her. Grief is a strange thing. It makes the world slow down but also move too fast. Time became meaningless. Around 6 months after Emily passed, my younger sister Tara asked if she could stay with me for a while. She had just broken up with her long-term boyfriend and said she needed a break. I wasn't in the best state to have someone around, but I agreed. She was family, and she had always looked up to me. At first, it was kinda nice. Tara helped clean up the house. She made sure I ate. She talked to me like a human again, not like someone broken. I thought it was what I needed. But something shifted. She started commenting on Emily's clothes in the closet. At first, little things. I can't believe she wore these. Then, bigger things. You should really get rid of this stuff. It's time. I brushed it off. I wasn't ready. Then, one morning, I noticed one of Emily's old sweaters was missing. I didn't think much of it until I saw Tara wearing it 2 days later. I didn't confront her because it would have started an argument. But something in me froze. Why would she wear that? I tried to chalk it up to sentimentality. Maybe she missed Emily, too. They weren't close, but maybe it was a way of connecting. Then I walked into the living room one night and caught her practicing how to say Emily's name, in a different tone, like she was rehearsing. I stood there in the hallway, hidden just behind the doorframe, listening to her say it over and over. Emily. Emily. Hi, I'm Emily. Each time, her voice shifted slightly. Softer, higher, like she was trying to match her tone to how my wife used to speak. It chilled me to the bone. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. I didn't even know what to say. What accusation could I make that didn't make me sound insane? The next morning, I acted like nothing happened. I went to work. I came home. Tara was in the kitchen, wearing Emily's sweater again. She smiled, overly cheerful. I made dinner. She had made Emily's favorite meal, chicken marsala with garlic mashed potatoes and asparagus. I hadn't eaten that meal in months. I never made it myself, not because I didn't know how, but because it hurt too much. How did you know this was her favorite? I asked. Tara blinked. Oh, I just thought it sounded nice. I didn't believe her. That night, I took all of Emily's clothes out of the closet and packed them away in boxes. I couldn't risk Tara taking more. I didn't want to see her wearing them. It felt like a violation. When I went to bed, I locked my door. A few days later, Tara sat me down and told me she had something important to share. I'm pregnant, she said. It's my ex's, but he doesn't want anything to do with it. I was thinking I could stay here long term, raise the baby here. I didn't know what to say. I felt the weight of 100 decisions crashing into me all at once. I was still grieving. I hadn't imagined becoming a father without Emily, let alone taking in my pregnant sister. I need some time to think, I said. She nodded, but I saw the flicker of something else in her eyes. Something possessive. Something I couldn't quite name. That night, I checked the trash can in the bathroom. No pregnancy test, no receipt, no wrappers, nothing. I started to wonder if she was even telling the truth. The next morning, I left early for work but didn't actually go in. Instead, I drove to the pharmacy down the street and picked up a pregnancy test. I left it on the bathroom counter before heading back out again. No note, no words, just the test. When I got back that night, it was gone. She didn't mention it. We sat in silence during dinner. She made pasta. Again, Emily's old recipe. She was wearing a different one of Emily's sweaters now. This time, it was the navy one with the white cuffs, the one Emily wore the night I proposed to her. "Tara," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, "I need to know the truth. Are you really pregnant?" She blinked at me like I had just slapped her. "Why would you even ask me that?" "Because I haven't seen any proof, and you didn't take the test." Her eyes welled with tears, and for a second, I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe she was just scared. But then she said something I'll never forget. "You just want me to leave so you can stay married to a ghost." My stomach turned. "That's not what this is," I said. "You've been acting strange, Tara. Wearing her clothes, making her food, saying her name like you're trying to replace her." "You don't know what you need," she snapped. "You think I don't see it? You're lonely. You need someone. And I'm here. I've always been here." I froze. She stepped toward me, reaching for my hand. "I can be what she was. I can take care of you." I pulled my hand back like it was on fire. "No," I said. "You need to pack your things. You can't stay here anymore." She stared at me, mouth open like I'd just spoken a different language. "You're kicking me out? I'm giving you a week. Find somewhere else to stay." Tara didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just stared at me and said, "You'll regret this. You're going to be alone forever." And then she turned and walked into the bedroom. I locked my door that night again, but this time I barely slept. The next morning, she was gone. No note, no text, nothing missing but a few clothes and the sweater she wore last night. I checked the guest room. It looked untouched except for the drawer where Emily used to keep her scarves. It had been emptied. I didn't go into work. I spent the day packing away everything that reminded me of Emily, not because I wanted to erase her, but because I realized how easy it had become for someone to twist her memory. That night, I finally slept. 3 days later, I got a call from my parents. "Jason," my mom said, "what the hell did you do to your sister?" My chest tightened. "What?" She showed up crying, pregnant with nowhere to go. She said you kicked her out for no reason, that you said you wished she was the one who died instead of Emily. "What?" I nearly shouted. "That never happened. She's devastated. You need to fix this." I had to take a deep breath before I responded. "Mom, she's not pregnant." There was a pause. She showed us an ultrasound." I felt like the ground tilted beneath me. "She showed you what?" "She said it's yours, Jason." That stopped my heart. "Excuse me?" "She said you had a moment of weakness after Emily, and that you've been denying it ever since." My head pounded. My hands were shaking. "That's a lie." "Is it?" My dad cut in. "You've been living together. You're grieving. She said she was helping you cope." "No," I shouted. "I never touched her. She's been pretending to be Emily, dressing like her, talking like her. This is insane." "She's your sister, Jason," my mom whispered like I was the crazy one. "No," I said. "She's not the person you think she is." I hung up before they could say anything else. That night I locked every door, closed every window. I didn't know what Tara was planning next, but I knew this wasn't over. She wasn't done with me. Not by a long shot. The next morning, I found my front door wide open. I hadn't heard a thing all night. No alarms, no creaks, but I always locked that door. Always. Especially since Tara left. I checked the house. Nothing seemed out of place, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been there. I called the locksmith that same day and had all the locks changed. I even added a camera above the door and another in the living room. I wasn't going to let her sneak in again, assuming it was her. I didn't have proof, just a gut feeling. But I'd learned to trust that gut since losing Emily. 2 nights later, my phone lit up with a notification around 2 a.m. motion detected. Front door camera. I sat up in bed, heart pounding, and opened the app. There she was, Tara, standing on my porch in the dark, barefoot, holding something in her arms, a bundle wrapped in a blanket. She stared straight into the camera and mouthed something. I turned up the volume. No sound. I rewound it. Played it again. This time, I read her lips. "Let me in. He's yours." My blood ran cold. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just watched her stand there for 5 full minutes. Then, slowly, she walked down the steps and out of frame. I called the police. They said they'd patrol the area, but without her trying to break in or harm me, they couldn't do much. I checked the footage again the next day. Something was off. When she lifted the blanket, I expected to see a baby, but it looked empty, like she was cradling a bundle of towels. I zoomed in. No face, no limbs, nothing. Just a twisted grin on hers. I didn't know what game she was playing. I didn't know what she wanted anymore, but I knew I wasn't safe, and neither was the memory of Emily. It was all under attack. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. Every sound felt louder. Every shadow looked like her silhouette. The next morning, I called a lawyer. I didn't know exactly what kind of case I had: harassment, defamation, mental health concern. But I needed someone to help me draw a line in the sand. My lawyer told me to start documenting everything. Every message, every visit, every shred of footage. He also told me to block her on all platforms, which I did. It felt good, like putting up a shield. But Tara didn't stop. She found other ways. That Friday, I got a knock on my door. It was Child Protective Services. "Are you Jason Miller?" the woman asked. "We received an anonymous tip about an abandoned child at this residence." "What?" I said, completely blindsided. "A baby was allegedly left on your doorstep," she continued. "We were told you took the child inside and haven't contacted authorities." My mouth went dry. "There is no baby," I said. "This is a lie. My sister's doing this to harass me." She gave me a look I couldn't read. Skepticism? Sympathy? It didn't matter. She still had to do a full check of the house. I let her in, showed her everything. No baby, no toys, no crib, nothing to even hint that a child had been here. She left with a quiet apology, but the damage was done. My neighbors saw. I could feel the judgment in their eyes when I stepped outside to get the mail. One even avoided me entirely, crossing the street when she saw me. Later that night, my mom called again. "She told us you're hiding the child," she said, voice shaking. "She said you're in denial." "I don't have a child," I snapped. "She's lying, Mom. She needs help." "She's your sister," my mom said again, like that changed anything. "No," I said. "She's not anymore." I hung up. I opened a drawer in the hallway, one I hadn't touched since Emily died. Inside was the engagement ring I proposed to her with. I held it in my palm and whispered, "I'm sorry I let this happen." Then I put the ring in the safe, because I finally understood something. Tara didn't just want a place to stay. She wanted Emily's entire life, and I was the last piece. The next day, I took time off work and drove 2 hours to a different city to visit a private investigator. I needed to know more about Tara, about the so-called ultrasound, about everything she was saying behind my back. I gave him what little I had: the footage of her on my porch, my parents' claims, the CPS visit, and he agreed to look into it. That night, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "You're a monster." Inside was a single image. It was photoshopped, poorly, of me holding a baby in my living room. You could see where my face had been edited onto someone else's body. The baby wasn't even facing the right direction. The lighting was wrong, but someone who wanted to believe it could easily fall for it. There was no text, no explanation, just the photo. I called the investigator. He said he'd trace the IP. 2 days later, I got the results. It came from my parents' house. I called them immediately. "What the hell is going on?" I demanded. "Did you send me that picture?" They denied it. But then my dad said something that made my skin crawl. "Tara said she stayed with you because you were spiraling. She said you begged her not to leave, that you needed someone to pretend to be Emily, to help you cope." "That's insane," I whispered. "She said it was your idea, that you gave her Emily's clothes, that you needed to pretend she wasn't gone." I sat down. She'd rewritten the story, and they believed it. She had painted herself as the victim, the supportive sister who gave everything for her grieving brother, the one I used and then discarded. I ended the call without another word. This was bigger than I thought, more calculated, more dangerous. She wasn't just trying to wear Emily's sweaters, she was trying to erase her, to replace her memory with a lie. And she didn't care who she had to destroy to do it. The private investigator called again the next morning. "I found something," he said. I braced myself. She was never pregnant. The ultrasound she showed your parents? It was pulled from an online pregnancy forum. She cropped out the watermark but didn't even change the date in the corner. My heart raced. "She also has a history," he continued. 2 years ago, she was involved in a restraining order dispute with her ex's new partner. Same pattern. Trying to insert herself into their relationship, pretending to be the new girlfriend, even sent herself flowers with his name on the card. It was like every missing puzzle piece fell into place. She wasn't just grieving or misguided, she was unstable, dangerous, obsessive. I asked him to help me draft a restraining order. He said it might take a few days, but we had enough to start. I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Hope. That night, I got another notification from the camera at my front door. This time, I watched her in real time. Tara. She was back. Not standing on the porch this time, but sitting cross-legged in the middle of my front yard, holding a baby doll, rocking it, humming a tune I recognized. It was Emily's favorite lullaby. One I used to catch her singing to herself when she thought no one was listening. I didn't go outside. I didn't yell. I called the cops and waited. When they arrived, she didn't resist. She just handed them the doll and said, "Tell my husband I'll be home soon." They took her away. I thought it was over, but it wasn't. The next morning, I had a voicemail from my mom. "I don't know what you told the police, Jason, but Tara's in a facility now, and she keeps saying your name, over and over, like she's waiting for you. She thinks you're going to come get her. She thinks you're her husband." I sat there in the kitchen, listening to the message on repeat, as the doll from last night sat in the evidence bag on my counter. It had Emily's necklace around its neck. I didn't go to the facility. I didn't call. I didn't write. I didn't respond to my parents' messages begging me to visit her just once. Tara wasn't my responsibility anymore. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about that doll, the necklace, the lullaby, the way she had sat in my yard like she truly believed she belonged there. The private investigator checked in again. He confirmed she had been placed in a psychiatric care unit on a 72-hour hold, which had since been extended indefinitely. She was undergoing evaluation for delusional behavior and identity confusion. Part of me felt pity. The little brother in me remembered the kid sister who used to follow me around with scraped knees and chocolate on her face. But that version of her didn't exist anymore. She hadn't just spiraled, she had built an alternate reality. And I was the last person still fighting for the truth. I started therapy again. Real therapy. Weekly sessions. We talked about Emily, about grief, about guilt, about Tara. I admitted I felt responsible. Like maybe if I had said no to her staying, none of this would have happened. My therapist looked me straight in the eyes. "She didn't break because of you," she said. "She broke because she needed help long before this started. You just happened to be the final stage of the story she was writing in her head." That helped. A little. I still got occasional messages from extended family, people who didn't know the whole story, telling me I was cruel, that she was sick and I should forgive her. But they weren't the ones who had woken up to find someone practicing how to become their dead wife. They didn't have to erase every physical memory of the woman they loved to keep a twisted version of her from forming in someone else. Forgiveness is a nice idea, but sometimes survival has to come first. I changed my number, cut off the people who didn't understand. And for the first time in over a year, I sat on my couch with a cup of coffee, looked around my quiet house and breathed in the silence like it was fresh air. But peace has a strange echo, especially when you know someone out there still believes you're theirs. It's been 6 months. Tara's still in the facility. The courts ruled she wasn't mentally fit to be released without a full psychiatric recovery plan. I stayed far from the hearings. My lawyer kept me updated when needed, but I didn't want to be anywhere near her. The last I heard, she still insists we were married, that we had a baby, that I threw it all away because I couldn't accept being happy again. They call it erotomania, my therapist said, a rare condition. Delusional belief that someone, often someone close, is in love with them, even if there's no evidence. My story apparently fits the textbook case. What's horrifying is how long I missed the signs, how easily it escalated. One minute I thought I was helping a grieving sister. The next, I was locking away pieces of my past to keep them from being stolen. Emily deserved better. So did I. But healing is slow. Last week, I reopened the boxes with Emily's things, not to pack them away or protect them, but to remember her as she was. Real, loving, sharp-witted, kind, not a memory that someone else could wear like a costume. I held her favorite sweater, the navy one with the white cuffs. Then I burned it. Not out of hatred, out of freedom. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means reclaiming the story. This one, my story, nearly got rewritten by someone who never had the right. But not anymore. I'm rebuilding, piece by piece, day by day. And as for whether I'm the asshole for kicking out my pregnant sister, she was never pregnant. She was never just a sister. She was a ghostwriter trying to overwrite a love that didn't belong to her. So I'm not the asshole. I'm just the last one left who still remembers the truth. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more Reddit stories.